November 1974, The Great Escape. If you're a movie buff like me, you'll be well aware of the blockbusters that Leonardo DiCaprio has starred in. Born in November 1974, one of my favorites of his is Gangs of New York, alongside Daniel Day-Lewis. Gangs became a theme in this installment of our journey through the Troubles, with suspicions around the Glen Ann Gang and their activities, as well as the activities of the Balcombe Street Gang. Political developments in November 1974. November 1974 began with Lord Donaldson and Mr. Moyle giving evidence to the Gardner Committee. During the meeting, the following was discussed: an apparent lack of urgency in the prison building program, an absence of government policy for community relations, a lack of close liaison between the government and the army, which sometimes appeared to act independently in a way which suggested that NIO ministers had not been properly consulted. It was later announced on the 18th of November that a new high-security prison would be built at Maghaberry, County Antrim, costing £30 million. On the 6th of November, 33 Republican prisoners escaped from the Maze prison through a tunnel. Hugh Coney, 24, was shot and killed by a sentry during the escape. 32 of the prisoners were captured by the end of the day. In an interesting development, the Ministry of Defence in London stated that the names of British soldiers killed during the conflict in Northern Ireland would not be added to war memorials. The reason given was that the conflict in Northern Ireland was not classified as a war. British Home Secretary Roy Jenkins announced on the 25th of November that the IRA was to be proscribed, declared illegal, in the United Kingdom, and further emergency powers would be introduced through legislation. Just 2 days later, Jenkins introduced the Prevention of Terrorism, Temporary Provisions Bill into the House of Commons, Westminster. One of the provisions of the bill provided the police with powers to arrest and detain suspected terrorists for up to 48 hours in the first instance, and for up to 7 days if the police applied to the Home Secretary for additional time. The provision also allowed for exclusion orders to be made against people suspected of involvement in terrorism. Jenkins described the provisions in the bill as draconian measures unprecedented in peacetime. In what felt like a month with lots of political developments, the Irish government introduced legislation which would allow people to be tried for offences committed outside the jurisdiction of the Republic of Ireland. Paul Hill was arrested in Southampton on the 28th of November and taken to Guildford for questioning about the bombings on the 5th of October 1974. On the 29th of November 1974, Hill signed a statement admitting his involvement in the Guildford bombing. He became the first of the Guildford Four to be charged with the bombing. On the 29th of November, the Labour government rushed through the Prevention of Terrorism, Temporary Provisions Bill. As mentioned, the new act gave the police powers to detain people for up to 7 days without any charge being brought against them. The act also allowed the authorities to exclude people from entering Britain. Although it was initially viewed as a temporary measure, the Prevention of Terrorism Act was to be renewed each year and made permanent by a Conservative government in 1988. Many critics of the Act claimed that it was mainly being used as a means of monitoring the movements of innocent Irish people. Indeed, many thousands of, mainly Catholic Irish people were screened under provisions in the Act, although never charged with any offences. Shootings in November 1974. November 2nd. Civilian Lorenzo Sinclair, 44, was shot from a passing car at the entrance of the Park Bar on Lawther Street in Tigers Bay, Belfast. November 4th. The UDA shot and killed Catholic civilian Ivan Clayton, 48, outside the University Road, Belfast pub, where he worked as a security guard. November 6th. An IRA sniper shot and killed patrolling British soldiers, Brian Allen, 20, and Stephen Windsor, 26, while on foot patrol in Crossmaglen, County Armagh. A volunteer, Hugh Coney, 24, was shot and killed by the British Army during an escape attempt from Longkesh Prison, County Down. November 8th, IRA volunteer Gerard Fennell, 28, was shot and killed by a British Army sniper from a concealed observation post during the attempted hijacking of a van on the Stewartstown Road in Belfast. The Protestant Action Force claimed responsibility for killing Catholic civilian Paul Armstrong, 18, who was found shot dead in a derelict bakery on Byron Street in Belfast. This was claimed as retaliation for the Guildford pub bombings. November 9th. Billy Hull, a former leader of the Loyalist Association of Workers, LAW, and Jim Anderson, a former UDA leader, were shot and wounded in attacks by Loyalist paramilitaries. The Protestant Action Force claimed responsibility for shooting and killing 2 Catholic civilians, Patrick Courtney, 29, and William Tierney, 31, in Temple Patrick. November 10th. The UDA shot and killed Catholic civilian John McQuitty, 41, at his home on Clovelly Street in Belfast. The official IRA and provisional IRA exchanged fire in the Bournemore area of Newton Abbey on the outskirts of Belfast. A follow-up search by the British Army recovered a revolver and ammunition. November 11th. Alan Quatermain, a London insurance broker, was shot and mortally wounded in his chauffeur-driven car at traffic lights on King's Road, Chelsea, London. Quatermain died a week later. It is believed that the IRA was responsible for the shooting. At the time, police thought the shooting was a case of mistaken identity. November 12th. The UDA killed Catholic civilian Joseph Elliott, 21, in a drive-by shooting on Ardmore Road in Derry. Civilian Joseph Taylor, 17, was shot at his workplace, a petrol filling station on the West Circular Road in Belfast. 2 civilians, Leonard Cross, 19, and Hugh Slater, 29, who worked for the British Army, were found shot dead by the side of Sheriff's Road near Derry. It's believed that they were abducted possibly at a public house just over the border. The Protestant Action Force claimed responsibility for shooting and killing Catholic civilian Michael Brennan, 26, at the St. Mary Youth Centre on Carolan Road in Belfast. November 15th. Patrolling British soldier Anthony Simmons, 19, was shot and killed by an IRA sniper while on foot patrol on Fountain Street in Strabane, County Tyrone. The UVF shot Catholic civilian Kevin Regan, 26, in Maguire's Bar in Larne. He died on the 20th of November. November 16th. Whilst on mobile patrol, UDR soldier Thomas McCready, 32, was killed by an IRA sniper in Newry, County Down. November 17th. Civilian John Bailey, 17, was shot by a passing car while walking along Upper Crumlin Road in Belfast. November 20th. The Protestant Action Force claimed responsibility for a gun attack at Falls Bar in Augnamullen, near Clono. The pub owner, Patrick Falls, 49, was killed and a customer was wounded. This was claimed as retaliation for the killing of an RUC officer in Craigavon earlier that day. A British Army UDR soldier was later convicted for the attack, which has been linked to the Glenanne gang. November 21st. Civilian William Burns, 39, was found shot in his car on Apsley Street in Donegal Pass, Belfast. It's not known who was responsible. November 22nd. The UDA shot and killed Catholic civilian Geraldine Macklin, 20, at her workplace on the Springfield Road in Belfast. Civilian Michael Hanratty, 43, was shot from a passing car at the entrance to the Hole in the Wall Social Club on Ballycarry Street in Belfast. November 23rd. The UDA shot and killed civilians Mary Shepherd, 41, and William Hutton, 50, a Catholic and a Protestant, at the Arkle Taxi Depot on Clifton Street in Belfast. Catholic civilian Thomas Gunn, 34, was found dead in a car on Hightown Road near Belfast. He had been kidnapped and shot in the head by the UVF. Protestant civilians John McLean, 24, and Heather Thompson, 17, were killed at their workplace on the Crumlin Road in Belfast by members of the IRA. November 25th. The UDA shot and killed Catholic civilian Patrick Cherry, 36, as he sat in a car on Portaferry Road in Newtonards. The UDA shot and killed Protestant civilian John Ramsey, 35, as he was leaving work at Ewart's Mill on the Crumlin Road. He was assumed to be Catholic. Civilian James Murdoch, 55, was shot by a passing car at the junction of Bray Street and Rathlin Street in Belfast. November 26th. Civilian Thomas Hamilton, 34, was shot at his shop in Duncairn Gardens, Belfast. Bombings in November 1974. November 7th. British soldiers Vernon Rose, 30, and Charles Simpson, 35, were killed by an IRA booby-trap bomb at an electricity substation at Agalag, near Stewartstown in County Tyrone. Off-duty British soldier Richard Dunn, 42, and civilian Alan Horsley, 20, were killed when, at 10:17 p.m., a bomb was thrown through the window of the King's Arms in Woolwich, England. 35 other people were injured. The bomb was believed to contain 6 pounds of gelignite. The pub was close to the Royal Artillery Barracks, Woolwich, and was frequented by soldiers. Initially, a left-wing extremist group called Red Flag 74 said it had placed the bomb. However, responsibility was subsequently claimed by the Provisional Irish Republican Army, and specifically by part of the active service unit apprehended at the Balcombe Street siege. Some of the Guildford Four were wrongfully charged with involvement in this bombing. November 14th. IRA volunteer. James McDade, 28, died after the bomb he was planting outside a telephone exchange in Coventry. England exploded prematurely. November 20th. RUC officer Robert Ford, 29, was killed by an IRA booby-trap bomb hidden under a pathway in Rathmore, Craigavon, County Armagh. November 21st. There were bombs planted in 2 public houses, the Mulberry Bush and the Tavern in the town of Birmingham, and killed a total of 21 civilians, 2 of whom died in the weeks following the explosions. There was widespread outrage amongst the general public, and the British government came under pressure to be seen to be acting against the threat of further bombs. On the 29th of November 1974, the Prevention of Terrorism Act was passed. 6 Irish men, the Birmingham Six, were arrested and convicted of causing the explosions, and served 16 years in prison before being freed on appeal on the 14th of March 1991. Although it's widely believed the IRA were responsible, they have never officially admitted responsibility. Those who lost their lives were Jane Davis, 17, Eugene Riley, 23, Desmond Riley, 20, Maureen Roberts, 20, Marilyn Nash, 22, Pamela Palmer, 19, Stephen Worley, 21, Lynn Bennett, 18, Anne Hayes, 19, Michael Beasley, 30, Maxine Hambleton, 18, John James, 51, Charles Gray, 44, John Rowlands, 46, Stanley Bodman, 51, Trevor Thrupp, 33, James Caddick, 40, Paul Davies, 20, Neil Marsh, 20, Thomas Chater, 28, and James Craig, 34. November 25th. The IRA carried out 3 bomb attacks in the centre of London. In each case, a small bomb with a timer was placed inside a post office pillar box. The first bomb exploded at 5:50 p.m. in King's Cross and injured 2 people. The second bomb exploded at 6 p.m. in a pillar box in Piccadilly Circus, wounding 16 people. The final bomb exploded at 6:50 p.m. outside Victoria Station, and 2 people were injured. November 27th. The IRA carried out 2 bomb attacks near an army museum in Tite Street, Chelsea, London. Initially, a small bomb exploded in a post office pillar box at 8:30 p.m. Approximately 20 minutes later, a second, larger bomb exploded behind a hedge just a short distance away from the first explosion. 20 people were injured in the second explosion, including an explosives officer, 6 policemen, and 2 ambulancemen. The tactic of the come-on bomb was one which the IRA used on many occasions in Northern Ireland. November 29th. The UVF bombed McArdle's Bar in Crossmaglen. 6 people were wounded, and 1 Catholic civilian, Thomas McNamee, 55, died of his wounds almost a year later on the 14th of November, 1975. The attack has been linked to the Glenanne gang. The UVF bombed Hughes Bar on Church Street in Newry. Many people were wounded, and 1 Catholic civilian, John Mallon, 21, died of his wounds on the 15th of December 1974. November 30th. The IRA carried out a bomb attack on the Talbot Arms public house in Little Chester Street, Belgravia, London. 2 small bombs, each with a short fuse, were thrown at the window of the pub. One bomb went through the window but failed to explode. The second rebounded off the window frame and landed in the street, but the explosion injured 5 customers inside the pub. Thank you for listening to this episode of Tales of the Troubles. If you liked it, please like and share with like-minded people. Stay tuned, click the follow button, and enable notifications so that you don't miss the next episode.